If you're a UK company director who is under pressure from debts, demands and the HMRC, you may already be closer to insolvency than you think. The clock is ticking. Now, there is a way to get through this without destroying your finances or your reputation. This video is your quick survival guide to make the right moves before it's too late. I speak to hundreds of directors every month who have been where you are. They tell me the same thing. They ignored warning signs because they didn't know what to do, or they were too scared to face it. By the time they got advice, their options had shrunk to almost nothing. This guide is about preventing that. It's about putting you back in control before others take the control away from you. In the next 15 minutes, I'm going to walk you through the legal and practical danger signs you cannot ignore. The first protective moves to make in days, not months. A step-by-step action plan that actually works in the UK system, and the costly mistakes that sink directors every single day. If you follow this, you can navigate insolvency with your head up and hopefully your future intact. So, in the UK, insolvency, it's not a gut feeling. It's defined in law, and there are two main tests. One is the cash flow test. Can you pay your debts as they fall due? Now, if you're on a time to pay arrangement, or you're robbing to pay Peter to pay Paul every month, that's a sign that you're insolvent. If you are stretching payments every single month, relying on next week's sales to pay last month's bills, that is a big warning sign. Second test is the balance sheet test. If you add up all your liabilities, are they greater than your assets? And this includes loans, unpaid tax, supplier debts, even contingent liabilities that might not have crystallised yet. And if the total outweighs what the company owns, it's insolvent on a balance sheet basis as well. There's also the legal action test. So if someone has taken legal action against you and got you a CCJ against the company, or a SAT demand, or God forbid a winding up petition, that's another sign that you're insolvent. Now, if you fail any of the tests, your duties as a director change immediately. Legally, you've got to put your creditors first, and that means every single decision should be about minimising their losses, not saving face, not protecting shareholders, not gambling on a turnaround that might never happen. And if you ignore this point, this is where you could face wrongful trading claims and in worst cases, personal liability and disqualification. Now, there are red flags, and these red flags, when they come, when they're happening for your business, you've got to spot them, you've got to act on them. So the first one is you're missing VAT payments. You've not paid last month's PAYE or months previous's PAYE. You've not got the money for your corporation tax that's due soon. Or you've not paid last year's corporation tax. Now, if you're missing these deadlines, it shows a serious issue that needs to be addressed. Now, if you're using debt to keep the company going, so you are having to take on additional debt that's almost certainly personally guaranteed, and you're not using the debt to grow, you're not using the debt to reinvest, you're using the debt to stay alive, make payroll, pay the rent, pay the HMRC. Listen, that's a bad sign. Also, if you're using personal credit cards, or you're having to continually pump money into business to keep it afloat. Another thing, like some people are delaying payroll. Like they don't know if they're going to be able to pay the staff at the end of this month. Or they're regularly missing deadlines paying suppliers. You've heard me say it a million times, you're robbing Peter to pay Paul. Now, in the worst scenarios, probably all that has happened, but then you land with a statutory demand or a CCJ, or there's a winding up petition threat from HMRC or a creditor, or you've actually had a winding up petition land on your desk. Now, if any of these things are happening, you are losing control already, and it is time to take action. If anything I've said, by the way, is hit a nerve, there is a free assessment in the link below. Put your details in. One of my team will call you today. No strings, no obligation. We'll go through your options. Now, I want to start talking about moves you can make to protect yourself. First one, stop digging the hole any deeper. Because when you know the trouble's here, right, you've got to stop making decisions that are going to be pulled apart and you're going to get criticised for later on. So, and the important caveat is here, you know your business. I want you to take an hard look at it. I want you to look at your cash flows. If you're not doing cash flows, it's dead simple. A list of everything that's going out and coming in over the next 13 weeks. Have a look at what your owed money, the money you're owed in. Have a look at the work in progress you've got, the pipeline. And if you think that even with all that coming on, and look at it realistically, you're still not going to get out the hole, you've got to be really careful. Do not take on debts you can't repay. Do not pay creditors, one creditor over another, unless, like let's say for example, you're paying a supplier. You're paying the supplier to get the gear to site, and doing the job is going to bring more money into the company to pay back to creditors. That is something you won't get criticised for. But if you're paying your mate Dave because you don't want him to miss out because you know you're going to insolvency, that's the stuff that's going to cause you an issue, okay? It's called a preference, and it can be clawed back by you and your mate Dave. You can't be seen to be selling assets cheaply, right? They are transactions under value, and they will be challenged by the appointed insolvency practitioner. If you're selling assets, okay, excuse me, if you're selling assets, you've got to make sure that you've got an independent valuation, and you can sell them as long as you're paying a fair market value for them, okay? And you want to get a valuation done by an independent agent and get them to recommend that your offer to buy them is a good offer, okay? Number two, if what I've said to you has touched a nerve, you have got to take advice quickly. Either speak to a licensed insolvency practitioner or a specialist advisor like us. And what we'll do for you, we will help analyse your position. We'll tell you what options you've got available as we see. We might be able to suggest some rescue processes, how you can restructure the debts without a formal insolvency. We might be able to look at your HMRC debt and go, well, actually, show us your cash flow. This is what you owe HMRC. Maybe you need to organise a time to pay arrangement with HMRC. Maybe shutting the business down is not a good idea. Maybe what you need to do is make some redundancies. Maybe you need to increase your pricing. There's a whole load of options available to you. The sooner you seek advice, the more of the options are available. And obviously there's closure options. What does an administration look like? That's where you put a wall of protection around the business and the administrator is appointed to sell the assets of the business or to trade the business as a going concern. Or is it a liquidation? Is it the end of the line? The key thing is the sooner you take advice, the more you will understand those options before they're forced on you, okay? And we'll also try and advise you around wrongful trading accusations and sort of show you any personal liability issues that you've got before they happen. Now, step 3, it's about protecting records and getting stuff up to date. So you need to gather all the relevant records, bank statements, management accounts, debt invoices, contracts, payroll data, because your conduct is going to be reviewed by an insolvency practitioner later if you go through an insolvency. So having clear, accurate records can make things be a little bit easier, and it helps you understand your position better. So I said to you I was going to give you a survival plan. So I'm going to talk about it now. The first bit is assess and decide. Like, you can do that in the next few days with your advisor or insolvency practitioner. Do a complete cash flow and analyse the debt position. Identify what creditors pose the immediate threat. You know, are HMRC going to move fast with the winding up petition? Is a landlord going to come in and change the locks? Is another creditor going to pull the trigger on a petition which potentially could take this out of your hands? Your goal this week is to know exactly where you stand and decide whether your aim is to rescue the business, restructure the business, or a controlled closure. After that's done, what we want to start doing is contacting key creditors, and your tone is important. You're not begging them, you're informing that you're addressing the situation. You're taking professional advice and you're aiming to work with them. And hopefully this will buy some time. Now the key thing is, if you're insolvent, you cannot make the creditors' positions worse. Your role is to preserve that money in the bank for the creditors. Anything you do to their detriment can and will be used against you down the line, okay? But speaking to creditors allows them to understand that you are taking advice. And most people that owe them money are burying their head in the sands. They're not speaking to them, and that forces the creditors to actually act. So once your options are assessed, once you spoke to creditors, you need to choose your route. And it depends on what your position is. I mean, one of the routes might be an informal plan, and it's a short-term cash flow problem that you've got. And the way to fix it is to set up an informal arrangement to pay your creditors. So the pros of that is, listen, business keeps trading. There's no change to the outside world. What it allows you to do is, if it is a short-term problem, it allows you to renegotiate your debts with HMRC, the banks potentially, and your creditors, and pay them over a period of time and get out the other side. Now the cons of that are, it's not legally binding, so any one of those creditors could still take action against you, and if you fail on your agreement to pay them, they will just continue down the debt collection route. Where I see these plans fail is unrealistic expectation from creditors and directors offering unrealistic deals just to get the kick down the line a few weeks, okay? Another thing you might consider is a CVA. And a CVA is a formal insolvency process. You need an insolvency practitioner to supervise it. And it's a deal to repay your debts over time while trading on. Now there's a lot of benefits to this because it allows you to keep trading, you are in control, it saves people's jobs, it allows you to pay back your creditors over an extended period of time, should ease your cash flow straight away. But it's not for everyone. A CVA is best suited for businesses that have got stuff to protect in the business, like licenses or accreditations or maybe assets. Now, you've got to get 75% of your shareholders, of your creditors, to agree by debt. So some creditors won't agree to it. And when you're in a CVA, your credit score is absolutely shot. So again, it's no one size fits all. You've got to take advice on the specifics. Administration, I touched on it earlier. It's a legal shield to protect the business while finding a solution. And that might be a buyer. It might be a pre-pack administration where you line up to buy the business once you go into admin. And you have a separate company that's run by the same directors who buys the business out of admin. You've got to buy it for a fair market value. Now the pros of this is it saves jobs. It can save reputation. It can save contracts. It can allow you to start again without the legacy debt. But the downsides are, actually your reputation could be in tatters if a lot of creditors don't get paid. Potentially someone else could buy your business from under your nose, although that very, very rarely happens because there's a marketing period that happens, and in that marketing period anyone can make an offer to buy the business. And again, it doesn't happen very often because most businesses that are owner operated, they need the owner in there to run the business. Therefore, it's not such a good buy from someone else. And very few people buy businesses on 5 days due diligence. Then you've got liquidation, voluntary liquidation. Now, voluntary liquidation is where you go out there and you choose an insolvency practitioner that you want to appoint. You talk to a few insolvency practitioners or advisors, and you find one that you can work with that answers your question. Now, the positives, I suppose, to liquidation is it brings a formal end. The debts that are unsecured, they get written off in the liquidation. Staff will get made redundant. They will get their redundancy money. They will get paid unpaid wages, notice pay, holidays accrued but not taken. But there's obviously downsides. Creditors won't get paid, or a lot of creditors won't get paid. Your conduct as a director is going to be investigated thoroughly. If you've got overdrawn loan accounts that owe to the company, you're going to be asked to pay them back. And if you've done anything wrong, potentially you get disqualified. Each route has got pros and cons, and that's why it's important that you take advice, and your advisor will help you choose the best route, not just for you, but also for your creditors. Now, once you've decided on a plan, you've chosen the firm, you've got to act fast. Because if you delay this and your creditors suffer, that is an issue that's going to get a conduct issue. So I know I've said this and it seems a lot of work, but it can be completed in days. Now, if you delay things too much, you lose options. It's key that you keep creditors updated, even if the news isn't great. Silence makes them assume the worst. You should be starting to document every conversation now. You should be documenting meetings of minutes about if you are continuing to trade, why you're continuing to trade. If you're going to pay a supplier, why are you paying that supplier? Because if you go through an insolvency, the insolvency practitioner is going to review your conduct, and paper trail and documentation and rationale can be your protection. So, here's the mistakes I see people make. First one, denial. They deny there's a problem. Okay? They think they've got that positive thinking. They've read too much personal development stuff. They're waiting for a miracle. It doesn't happen, and a creditor forces them into liquidation with a winding up petition. It's called a compulsory liquidation. And the biggest petitioner of these are the HMRC. And whereas in the past they probably wouldn't wind up someone for less than 100 grand, I've seen petitions for £35,000 in the last few months. If you get wound up, you lose complete control. It's the official receiver that investigates your conduct, and the consequences are almost always more severe. The first thing that they're going to aim at you is you've not behaved properly. You've not taken your director's fiduciary duties responsibly because you've allowed yourself to be wound up. Another thing is making preference payments. So you're insolvent and you decide to pay friends, family or certain suppliers over other people. That will get reviewed by a insolvency practitioner, and it can cause problems for the person that you've paid and for you personally. Obviously, misconduct, misfeasance, hiding assets, destroying records, giving misleading information. That's all stuff that can bite you on the arse once you appoint the insolvency practitioner. And obviously drawing personal funds. So many directors use their business account as a personal piggy bank, okay? And what this means is you've probably got an overdrawn director's loan account. And this is essentially you're taking too much money out of the company. And if you do that, and lots of you do, the insolvency practitioner is going to ask you to pay it back. I'll tell you the number one reason why you've got an overdrawn loan account. You probably don't even know about it. This last year you've become insolvent, or you've made less profit than you used to. And you have continued to take in your head £1,000 a month salary, keep it easy, £3,000 a month in what you think is a dividend. But it's actually it's a drawing in anticipation that you make a profit and the accountant declares the dividend. Well, here's the problem. If you're insolvent, you can't declare a dividend. So if you've been insolvent since your last set of accounts, so let's say you've not been able to pay your last corporation tax, that shows that you were insolvent, and you appoint an insolvency practitioner, you might not think you've got an overdrawn loan account because your last set of accounts says you haven't. But you've took £3,000 a month in a dividend that the company couldn't afford to pay. 12 months later, you appoint an insolvency practitioner, you've got at least a 36 grand overdrawn loan account, you're going to be asked to pay it back. That's a big problem. So what can be done? Well, if you're watching this and you're not yet insolvent, be careful how you pay yourself. You cannot be taking dividends if you can't pay your creditors on time. You can still get a salary. I would suggest you speak to your accountant and perhaps change the way you're paying yourself. But if it's too late and you've already done it, the key thing is to be well informed. Understand your overdrawn loan account position. Go and check your management information. Go and check your management accounts. And if you are not getting management accounts every month, you are in danger. If your accountant doesn't do it, either get a new accountant or get a bookkeeper. Because it's important that on a monthly basis, you get told if you're making a profit or not. And if you're not making a profit, you can't take a dividend. Now, if you go to an insolvency practitioner, before you appoint them, remember, speak to a few, speak to us, okay? We want you to call us, okay? But you don't have to. If you don't want to speak to us, that's fine. But when you're speaking to an insolvency practitioner, you must go to them with this and raise the question before you decide to appoint them. Now, they can only give you certain bits of information before they appoint you, before you appoint them. Remember, they are there to represent the creditors. That's why it's really good to use somebody like us, because we can help you understand your director's loan account and we can help you understand potential solutions to it. Now, what we can't do is make it go away, but we can help, have you reviewed all your expenses? Are there any expenses that need to be put in? Do we need to do a final set of accounts? Is there anything you've paid personally that needs to come off your director's loan account and can be put as a credit on that ledger to minimise it? And then it's a case of, right, you're going to be asked to pay it back once you've appointed an insolvency practitioner. Well, okay, what is a settlement going to look like? Remember, an insolvency practitioner is not allowed to essentially do a deal with you pre-appointment, but some of them will give you an indication. And they'll only give you an indication as long as you show them everything. Show them what your DLA is at that point in time. Make sure it's accurate, up to date, and then show them what your ability to repay is. And in most cases, you'll be able to get a settlement. We will assist you with that, okay? So, director insolvency survival is about speed. It's about transparency. It's about control. Act early. Every week you delay, your options shrink. And if you make the creditors' positions worse, that is going to land you in hot water. Please get expert help. Don't guess UK insolvency rules. Communicate. Creditors and your advisors hate surprises. Document everything. It is your duty to put down in paper the rationale as to behind the decisions that you're making. And if you stick to this, I think you're going to end up in a better position. I can't promise all your problems are going to go away, but at least you're going to understand what the issues are before they come. Now, if you're a UK director in trouble, speak to Director First today. We'll explain your options. We will help you understand how you might be able to get from A to B legally, and we will guide you step by step. Subscribe for more plain English insolvency advice. And please, right, what I want you to go and do now is watch this video here. I want you to go and watch this playlist, and you're going to find videos on all the essential steps that you must take before you liquidate your company. There are going to be videos on what happens to your employees. There are going to be videos about how to restart your business, the different types of liquidation. And if you want, we can speak to you. We can speak to you today. Go to the assessment in the comment section. Thanks for your time. Bye-bye.